How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about.
Live from downtown Nashville, Tennessee.
This is StacheCast. Let's go.
Welcome to our ridiculous sports show.
Hello, everyone.
It's a frat party at a golf course.
That was one hell of an intro. I enjoyed every minute of that.
Come on. Do you even want to win?
He's like running into a 12-story building.
You want to talk about a whooping on national television?
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
StacheCast, baby.
StacheCast, baby. Let's go. It is episode 26. We got a full house. I don't know what they say, but the mama has left the house. Kristen is on a work trip, and she has left the boys alone on the StacheCast to do whatever they will. It could get off the rails, and I'm excited for it. Thank you guys for being here. This is StacheCast, presented by Nashville Stash from right here, downtown Nashville, Tennessee. We're stoked that you're here with us, as always. This episode is brought to you by our friends again at Southern Collective Spirit Co. in downtown Nashville. Go check them out at southerncollectivespiritco.com and tell them that StacheCast sent you. This is a massive episode. We got episode 26. I think we've sat back and talked about, we didn't even think we'd get to maybe episode 6. And here we are, 26 episodes in. We have special guests in the house. My man, we're repping the good hat. As always, Scott Ward is back in the house. We're welcoming you back. Thanks for being here again. Alex Alper from Los Angeles, California, repping the Seattle shirts again. It was cracking last week. It's probably Mariners this week. No, we got Supersonics tonight. Nice. Love it.
Thunder up.
Obviously, we got a man repping Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor. Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace.
Understandably, it's not a Sean Taylor jersey because it says Commanders on it. So
True.
Sean Taylor never played for the Commanders, just like Albert Bell never played for the Guardians. So we'll move on. We'll talk about that. We'll circle back. My man, Kevin Boyle, the degenerate, the guy, the guru, the man who knows all of the things, but yet seemingly knows nothing, is back with us tonight to offer his take on, I don't know shit about fuck. That's Kevin Boyle in a nutshell. We're glad to have you back, my man. Thank you for being here.
He's sophisticated tonight.
Little round of applause. Hey, Boyle, you told me earlier you're feeling under the weather. Thank you for being here. You're a stud. You're absolutely a great American. Thank you for nutting up. I guess it's a little red wine. Cheers to that.
Just gotta get a little heart juice in.
You know what? A little heart juice, a little red wine. I call it night juice. Personally, it makes me go to sleep. But everybody to each their own. I'll tell you this. I read a story this week and it blew my mind. And you being on the show, despite having a little bit of an illness, is what sparked this conversation. Bo Jackson, we all know Bo Jackson, legend. Bo Jackson. Bo knows everything. Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football. Bo knows, right? We all know Bo Jackson.
Bo knows archery.
Probably one of the, if not the greatest athlete that's ever walked on the face of the earth of all time. Career cut short. Tragically, hip thing, the whole 9 yards, whatever. Well, currently his issue is hiccups. Have we heard about this? Mm-hmm. The man has had the I'm going to hear this clearly. Bo Jackson has had the hiccups for almost a year. A year, Boyle. If I have him for an hour, I'm jumping off a bridge. And
I'm I'm 6 sugar packets deep. I'm mainlining, water upside down, waterboarding myself to just get rid of them. That's what I'm doing. It has to happen.
Well, that's what goes into this quote that I pulled out. He said, I've done everything. Scare me, drink water upside down, smell the ass of a porcupine. It doesn't work.
Does he know that
it's all of it? He said, I've had these hiccups since last July. I'm getting a medical procedure done at the end of the week, I think, to try to remedy it. I'm busy at the hospital, sitting up with the doctors poking me, shining lights down my throat, probing me every way they can to try to find out why I've got these damn hiccups.
How do you sleep with the hiccups?
That's the thing. Okay, how do you do anything? How do you operate?
So then it goes into insomnia.
You're not doing anything, let alone
Hiccups are
sleep.
psychological. Hiccups are psychological. If you do a math problem in your head, you can get rid of your hiccups.
All right, maybe Bo struggles with algebra. Okay, maybe that's
Bo doesn't know math.
So let's
Bo no math.
Bo don't know math. All right, let's be honest. Okay, but Bo don't know hiccups either, right? Bo knows that he's got to do something about it, or he's going to lose his mind, because there's no amount of archery, man cave, like.
What do you do though? If you're saying it's like
Testosterone
psychological, like what do you do? What is the procedure? Like,
It's
what
all
body part is worked on?
your brain. It's literally in your head. You can psychologically psych yourself out of having hiccups. Like all those tricks, all those things that you guys are talking about, like underwater, blah, blah, blah. It's because you're taking your mind off the hiccups and thinking about something else.
Is that similar is that similar to when somebody says, "Hey, I'm about to sneeze. Think about it. And it makes them not sneeze." Or I'm about to sneeze, stare directly in the light, and it makes them not sneeze.
Similar,
It's more of a mind fuck than an actual scientific like thing that works.
Agreed.
A lot of people say that about Tylenol too.
All right, but what is it? Okay, but it led me to this conversation, like with myself. What's a hiccup like biologically? Like, what's this? Like, I know what a burp is. Like, I know what a fart is. Like, I know what some of these other things are. What's a hiccup?
I don't know. I've never actually thought about that my whole life. Like, what is a hiccup? I imagine it's some sort of like air bubble or something.
It feels like a valve like malfunction somewhere in there. It's like something like a valve is like it's supposed to be open, but it's like half shut, and it gives you that. Every time you try
to
about
this.
Like where, like is something going on in there that's all jacked up? Like what happened? How did that happen? And how does Alex's psychological warfare fix that?
Yeah,
hiccups are repeated spasms or sudden movements of the diaphragm that you can't control. The diaphragm, the muscle that separates your chest from your stomach area, plays an important role in breathing. A spasm in your diaphragm causes your vocal cords to suddenly close, producing a hic sound.
Which is also like the air that like puffs up from that.
Yep.
And so you say psychologically we fix it with meditation and crystals, or what?
Basically, like my go-to trick if somebody with hiccups is ask them what they had for lunch yesterday, or ask them what they wore yesterday, or something where they literally have to think about anything other than their hiccup. Then you just keep asking them questions, and as soon as they get their head or their mind off of hiccuping and they start concentrating on something else, like literally 9 times out of 10 your hiccups goes away. But that 1 out of 10, that's Bo Jackson.
Here's me. I'm following you 8 out of 10 right there. Like I'm with you all along, but as soon as I can see that they've committed to me and my other story, as soon as I can see it in their eyes that they've made the transition into believing whatever I'm saying, that's when I switch into good old faithful and I crank them with a, and I try to, and I act like I'm about to punch them in the gut or something, and they jump out of their shoes. And if that doesn't get rid of the hiccups, they're uncurable in my book. But you can, you're either got to do that, or you got to chug water upside down with a glass of water. And if you can't do that, you're Bo Jackson. You're gonna have it for a year. You got to have surgery.
If you scare them though, then you literally ruin the experiment and finding out if it actually works or not with telling them the story.
But scaring them's the way to go for me. Like if you can get somebody twisted up, but maybe nobody's been scaring him because it's Bo Jackson. How scared is Bo Jackson going to get? You know what I mean? Like how scared can he get? Like he's never, like even if you really, really got him good, like he was like checking, out in the yard and it was dark and he snuck up around the house and he was like, blah! And he really got him. Anybody else would have shit their pants.
Sean Taylor
Bo Jackson just kind of was like, hey, bud, like, good one. And he doesn't even really, his heart rate doesn't go up. Like, it's Bo Jackson. Like, how scared can he get?
Yeah.
Scott, come on. Like, Scott, you've been sitting there chomping at the bit. You and Boyle
It's
got to chime in.
It's just one thing at this time, boys. Sugar water. And if you don't know Men in Black,
I didn't
then
understand
you guys
that.
are all missing a great film. Sugar water.
Oh, sugar water.
Sugar water,
Oh.
some sugar and
More. More. More.
Scared.
Sugar water.
Your jaw's hanging off your face. Right?
Sugar water. Yeah.
Good
It's
stuff.
always sugar water.
But I guess my question first of all, rest in peace, Bo Jackson, because I'm sure he's this surgery doesn't work. We're never gonna. He's gonna be done with the old man golf commercials. We're not gonna Bo Jackson's done. He's gonna just retire into his basement, and he's gonna have the hiccups until
He goes insane.
until he goes absolutely bonkers. You're right.
Sugar water.
But I guess that leads me to my question. And JJ's not here. Rest in peace, JJ. See you never. He's busy tonight. He's got work stuff to do, so he couldn't be with us tonight. But my question would be, would you rather have hiccups incessantly, or would you rather have the sneezes incessantly? Which would if you had to sneeze every 5 minutes, or would you rather have the hiccups every 5 minutes? Or whatever, however it shakes out. Which would be worse to you?
Neither.
Be worse.
Hiccups.
I think if I had the hiccups and I couldn't get rid of them with my mental solution, that would just piss me off more. So give me them sneezes.
Okay.
I'm with
So how
Alex.
do you get rid of sneezes if it's not a allergy thing? If you just start sneezing out of nowhere.
Good
Not-
question.
Good way to get
That-
out of stuff you don't want to
that's-
do. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I can't go to that party. I'm allergic. And you show
Okay,
up and
I'm
you're like, I'm
sneezing all
allergic,
night. Can't do it.
allergic to dancing? What's that?
I'm allergic to
Can't hardly
everything.
wait.
Wow.
I'm
Deep
allergic
cuts
to
already.
dancing.
Boys, it's just math on this end, and it's sneezing 1,000%. It's not even a close
You'd
finish.
rather have sneezing?
Yeah, it's 1/10 of an orgasm. Of course, I'm sneezing all day.
I was literally thinking though,
100%.
which one is easier to get laid with and get through it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, you're already a
Probably.
1/10 of the way there.
Pretty good
Babe.
point.
Would you rather me have hiccups all the time or sneeze all the time? And think in terms of us doing it. Hiccups. She said hiccups. Probably
And
feels
that's-
really
and
good for
that's-
them
and
once you
that's-
get a hiccup though.
And
But
that's
think about
for us.
think about
That's
she's thinking about how it's gonna feel when you're inside her and you're hiccuping. You're gonna get this extra little every randomly
I don't
off
think
rhythm. She's gonna have one of those off rhythm and it's gonna be great. So
I don't
good
think
luck-
she's
good for you,
thinking
man. I'm proud
that
of you.
hard.
Or
Yeah.
No,
or
she's
it's
definitely not
putsch,
thinking that hard.
and the
She's
work's
definitely
done.
not thinking that hard. But it could be that way. Could be that way. You never can tell.
Truth.
So it was just something that kind of jumped off at me. I was like, what are we gonna do if hiccups take over? If Bo Jackson can get them, we're all susceptible. There's nobody that's free from this. So Bo
I'm sure there'll
Jackson,
be a
hopefully,
vaccination for it.
I'm wishing Bo all the best.
We all do.
Sending
We all
up
do.
thoughts and prayers for Bo. Hope you get rid of this stuff. Good God, I can't imagine, but best of luck to you, buddy. Hope you get rid of them. There's issues like that are personal issues that show up that nature causes, and then there's issues that show up that you cause. And it seems to be lately for me, the NBA has been producing some of the better stories as far as shit that's going wrong in your life that you produced. So I want to start with not the obvious John Morant, because we've all heard the stories and we've all wanted, and everybody's probably got their own opinion about that. I want to talk about Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole spent $500,000 on a date, on his first date with some rapper named Ice Spice.
Yeah, I had to look that one up.
Shopping all day. Louis Vuitton, whatever you want to go. Then goes and buys her a Maybach Mercedes truck on a first date. we've
must
all
be
dated. We've all dated. Like we've dated. If you were to do like, if you understand like what setting the precedence means, right? Like you walk in and you know, first date is whatever it is. You're kind of setting the tone for what kind of experience she should expect when she's hanging out with you. Am I wrong? Can you imagine? I mean, it's all relative, right? Like we don't have a contract for anybody, for 140 million or whatever Jordan Poole's contract was at the time. So it's all relative. But if you were to take whatever percentage that is of your overall income and just bang, drop it on one day, on one experience, on a person who could leave you tomorrow, that's not even a fathomable thought for me. I don't even understand. Like, this is a story. Everybody talks about how reckless it is, this, that, and the next thing. Yeah, maybe it is.
2%. It's 2%.
But I can't fucking comprehend it. Like, if I had that amount of money, is that a realistic splurge, Boyle?
I mean, I'll keep the theme for myself tonight. It's all in the math, man. I mean, it's 1.8% of what he made that year alone. Hopefully he's stacked a couple racks for a cold winter's night at some point in time from previous contracts. But,
unlikely,
if you're bold, yeah, exactly. Because it's the NBA. But at this point in time, you're talking about, breaking it back down to a normal salary. You're talking about spending, somewhere between $3,500 and $6,500, which does seem reckless, does seem very reckless. But I mean,
that would be hard to do in Nashville, like on a regular night, like minus the car, the car thing would obviously take it to the next level. But to try to go out and have like a dinner, even if you went bananas, right? Just straight bonkers.
Bananas are cheap.
$3,500 would be a massive night for like a group of 4 to 6, not 2.
Yeah, I think we'd have a hard time
for that shitting the bed in the playoffs.
He shot like 1.4%.
Yeah, he had 20 points twice in the entire playoffs.
This is what happens.
So you go into your next date, you just got to be like, look, I got to blow it out of the water at this point, because
you know how savage girl rappers are these days. Do you know how many?
Yeah.
At some point, Ice Spice was definitely like, so I heard Draymond busted your ass in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And you just kind of took it like a bitch. And then it kind of sprinkled across the whole season and nobody said anything about it. They just kind of brushed it under the rug.
Maybe we're looking at it completely different. Maybe it is an investment in his name not getting trashed all over a rebuttal song because his D game's not tight. His, his swagger.
He's shooting 30 footers with maybe 12 seconds.
Yeah, she's like, I can't really burn this guy on this next track. He did hook me up with a G-Wagon. So maybe it's an investment because he's not confident in himself, and he's got to just shell out what he's confident in, which is his bank account bloated at $130 million over the next 4 years.
Okay.
Only 3, so young.
Yeah, that's why we need to get back to that. The man is 23 years old. He just got $128 million guaranteed. Like, okay, he spent a little bit too much money, but I don't think he actually went to how to properly go on a date status.
Yeah, I don't. Again, it's all about,
not even close.
No,
it's all about math. It's like everybody getting butthurt when Jordan was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars gambling and making $30-40 million a year and owned 76% of Nike. That's a made up stat, but most of them are. I mean, it's irrelevant to me. Like, you spend your money on what you want. Like, people are like, why do you spend money on gambling? It's like, because I like to have fun and I don't suck. I mean, like, what do you want me to do? People are like, why'd you buy that car? Well,
I wanted it, right?
Yeah.
But like I said originally, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. Yeah, like, sure. None of us have $128 million guaranteed over the next 3 years, but and we're all way beyond 23 or 4 years old or whatever Jordan Poole is. So let's keep that in mind. If you gave me what he's making per game when I was his age, Alex, that's when you first met me in Hermosa. You remember that version of me? Can you imagine me having multi-millions of dollars? We wouldn't be doing this show right now. I promise you that, because I would have
In jail.
rolled up on the beach somewhere one night.
Yeah.
So if he wants to go bananas on a first date, I can say there's a lot more irresponsible things that a lot of people have done in their life with $500,000. But let's be honest. That's a pretty badass little date. Like, if you want to be honest, like, do what?
Did he get a second date?
I mean, how do you not get a second date? And how are you not smashing on that second date? He might be a gentleman on the first date. I'll buy you a car and we'll go shopping all day. But on date number 2, you better come correct. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
At least he doesn't have to pick her up. At
Yeah,
least he doesn't have to pick her up for date
true.
2. I bought you a car, woman.
I bought you a car. Come get me.
Come pick me up.
Chaperone duty.
That good point. Good point, Offer. The professor with a good point. Scott, what about you? You're in the house with the fancy drapes. So you got to tell me how a boss moves, because you look like you're in the situation with like fancy couches, and there's probably 3 or 4 other people.
It's a nice throw blanket he's got there.
It's a very sophisticated situation. So tell me
never really went out there for the rap girls. So put all the money in the TV.
Oh, okay. You spent your time elsewhere, I see. Okay. That was probably smart. That was probably smart strategically.
Take them elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So you don't really have any interest in the who would have created this type of stuff, huh?
Created what? The date?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, if somebody says, "Hey, Scott, I want to take you out on a date," and the first thing they want to do is they want to go shopping. Let's say take you down to Green Hills Mall, and you can go to whatever store you want, and they start hooking you up. One thing left, everything you want. And they go into bang to bang, 3 or 4 stores, and then they leave. And you go back headed south. They're like, "Hey, is there anything else you want?" And you just kind of jokingly say, "Man, that new Range Rover's nice." And they just pull off on Old Hickory. They just end up over there at the Andrews Cadillac, sponsor us. And they just say, "Hey, what about this new one that just rolled off the lot?" And she buys it for you.
I mean, it's wild, but I looked at that girl and I was just like, why are they even on a date? So lost me right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a visual on this.
Beauty's on the inside, gentlemen.
Yeah, me neither. I don't either. All I know is that she didn't. She didn't
save there, Alex.
She didn't look like she was worth a $500,000. But
music is trash too.
Hey, but there's everybody. There's somebody.
Joe knows music.
Joe knows music.
I do not like her. I don't like it. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people do, but they're probably deaf.
Dude, I'm looking at a picture. Yeah. I'm looking at a picture of her on Instagram, and I am curious. Like, she just looks so uncomfortable because her nails are so long. It looks like something from like Schmeagol, like just like has all 10 fingers, and it's just like, how are you gonna get the ring on there?
Yeah, the piece of paper that I printed out is
like my wife just said. How are you gonna wipe your butt?
It's like a selfie here. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, it's like she's got a little afro. It's whatever, guys are.
She got berries for that cottage cheese right there.
I don't know. Maybe she's got some pimento cheese. I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of cheese it is. I'm not interested at all.
We know he played like trash since he did it. So
yeah, so maybe he's feeling guilty about that. Maybe his mom's been chirping him in his ear. You never know. But
she better be.
That's a pretty good segue, Joe, because the Warriors, Alex's statement was true, right? The statement he made was the Warriors win. And the Warriors do win. They were 19-0 against the Western Conference in the playoffs under Steve Kerr. It had been the Cavs in the finals, the last team or whatever. So they win. LeBron and AD proved to be able to outlast them. They get to the conference finals against Denver, Miami, and Boston. Who do you feel like is the better underdog in the situation, the Lakers or the Heat? Joe, I'll start with you.
Most likely to win, or like the better team?
Most likely to win the series as an underdog, being the Heat or the Lakers.
I think the Heat are the most likely to win the series. Just can't. You don't get surprised when you see the Heat in this situation. Like every year, they just kind of are like, are they going to make the playoffs? And then they sneak in. And I guess if they stay healthy, I just think that the Celtics, they've proven they can be beatable. I think that they have great talent, but I don't know if. I mean, Jason Tatum, he went off, but like he doesn't go off every game. Sometimes they complain about him being aloof. Jimmy's going to go in there and just fuck with their head all day if he can.
Yeah.
The Lakers, man, the Lakers. I mean, AD is a walking infirmary. LeBron, it's tough to bet against him. The Nuggets, man, when they play their best, like they're really tough to beat. So I just think that the Heat have a better shot of winning, but I think the Lakers are a better team than the Heat.
Okay, I think I agree with it. I agree with the last statement. I think the Lakers are a better team than the Heat. I think the Heat play a better brand of basketball than the Celtics do. I feel like the reliance on Jason Tatum so far, even though Jaylen Brown is a all NBA player and he is a stud, and Robert Williams seems to play bigger than ever in the playoffs, and they've got Al Horford, who's older than everybody,
and the defensive player of the year,
they've got Marcus Smart dogging everybody. On paper, the Celtics should handle the Heat. However, every time I watch the Heat, they're playing a better brand of basketball. You've got guys contributing in every facet. And it seems like good defense and better offensive execution has prevailed in the Eastern Conference over reliance on one or two stars.
It also feels like the Heat and the Celtics, they meet every year in the playoffs, so they know what they're both about. So, yeah. And in the other series, I don't know how you match up with Jokic. What do you put? AD
The Western
on?
Conference. The Western Conference is a different animal because you're right. I don't think the difference between this year and the bubble year is that Jamal Murray's healthy, and you've got a full strength Denver team against the Lakers team that is really AD and LeBron dependent. Like they've got some guys that have been doing some good stuff. Lonnie Walker has been fantastic to watch. Schroeder has stepped up and played the role that, Reeves is not a surprise to me. Reeves has been playing well for a couple of months. It's not, but in the playoffs, you're right. In the playoffs, it's different, and he's continued to play well, which is cool to watch. But they're very AD and LeBron dependent. Denver is very Jokic dependent, but they've got some role players. I feel like in Porter Jr., in Caldwell Pope, in
Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown to a point, right? They've got some guys that they're role players. I feel like step up and play better, or have been of recent memory.
Michael Porter is one of the best role players in the game. And if he played for some trash team like the Orlando Magic, he'd be averaging 28 a game. Maybe 6 rips, 3 bombs, and maybe dishing the ball a little bit. He's a little bit more on the boards, but you know what? He's athletic. He can carry a team if he's healthy. And I think that that's a big variable in that series with Denver versus the Nuggets, because Lonnie Walker has to get hot. Lonnie Walker has been good, but Michael Porter has been stone cold this entire playoff run. So if he stays hot and Jamal Murray and Joker do their normal thing, it's wrapped up in 5 games. That's my pre-call. Alex can check the math. I don't know what the odds are on it yet, but I'll probably put a bet on it later tonight because I just put it out there in the world, and I'm just going to have to hit it now.
I agree.
So Boyle with the professor's cosign, Denver in 5.
Denver in 5.
Which backs what I said, which was that Denver was the team to come out of the West before this conversation ever happened. So
That's true.
5 games with LeBron James on the other side. You've just watched him take over in him personally take over games and do things. So I feel like 5 games is disrespectful. I think the Nuggets win. And I don't think it takes 7, but I don't think it takes 5 either. So let's go Nuggets in 6 in Denver, 4-2 Nuggets. But the Eastern Conference is interesting to me because I do like the Heat. I like the way they play basketball. I come from a background of good fundamentals and everybody being involved and hitting the open guy and everybody being on the same page. And I like the way that they play. Spoelstra doesn't get enough credit for what he does down there in Miami every year. I mean, let's be honest. They've been in the Eastern Conference Finals, 3 out of the last 4 years? They continue to produce winning seasons that do well in the playoffs. Adebayo is forced down low when you start to think about a mismatch somewhere. Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. I mean, I feel like Boston still has the advantage on the outside, but Miami definitely has the advantage on the inside athletically. Alex, what do you think?
I don't know shit about the NBA, you guys. No clue. No clue whatsoever. Honestly,
That's why I
Seattle
asked you.
Supersonics. I know.
That's why I asked you.
The Lakers.
I knew you're just sitting there looking at me like, man, I hope we start talking about soccer soon.
Anything else. But I agree. I think Denver's
All right, let's talk about something.
The Lakers.
You're from LA.
Blah, blah,
You're from
blah.
LA. You're from LA. Let's talk about something basketball related that you can associate with. Jack Harlow is the new Woody Harrelson and the remake of White Men Can't Jump. Have you seen any of the? One of the things when I lived in LA that was interesting was all of the. What?
Who's Jack Harlow?
Jack Harlow's Jack Harlow's a rapper, a white guy, a white rapper who's been very successful as of late. If you haven't heard, you've probably heard a bunch of his songs. You probably danced to them quite a few times without knowing. But at any rate, they're remaking White Men Can't Jump. Are they playing a bunch of trailers and is every billboard out in LA covered with this? Because usually that was the way that it was out there. Is it not that way?
Obviously not.
Apparently not.
Nobody
gives a shit.
I mean, I know Joe knows this answer. I'm going to wager $100 with Scott, even though he doesn't have to take this bet. But I guarantee Joe knows who Jack went to help him with his jumper to get ready for White Man Can't Jump.
I would assume Steph Curry.
I thought it would be Kawhi Leonard.
Are we, guys? Are we being serious right now? It's Tyler Hero. It's got a song called Tyler Hero, talking about how.
Yeah, that's right. They're friends.
Jumper.
That's right. They're friends. I forgot about that.
Sorry, we're idiots. We're idiots.
Sorry, man.
All right, Scott. I'll Venmo you. What's your Venmo?
Who's he going to go to for acting coaching? Because he needs to probably focus on the acting more so than the jump shot.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of the trailers. Is it not good?
He's in a New Balance commercial with Kawhi.
Yeah, he's dunking.
I like Jack Harlow.
Awesome.
He's a pretty engaging guy, and he's a good rapper.
Yeah,
I guess
mind.
the
I
movie
like Jack
itself,
Harlow's music.
I don't really have a problem with the fact that they're remaking it. It's just sort of kind of like Disney. They just continue to recreate things, and it's like, all right, we got a lot of people out there with a lot of brain power, and someone's sitting around going, you know what? I'm kind of tired of trying to think of some shit. Like, why don't we just go redo?
Why remake a classic? Can't do it. Stop remaking classics.
Right. You don't go remake
it's like
that movie.
Redoing I Am Legend with Michael B. Jordan. That's happening, guys.
No, that's a sequel. Yeah.
If this was a sequel, then that's different. But if it's literally redoing it, like, first of all, you can't go you cannot go redo Rosie Perez.
So
can't redo Rosie Perez.
Give me another example. What's another remake that you wish they wouldn't have done because they absolutely butchered it?
Yeah,
not
Joe,
a sequel,
like
not a late sequel, but like a remake late, like a late remake, like
Red Dawn.
Okay, good example.
Sandlot.
They didn't remake Sandlot. They did a sequel.
No.
Yeah.
No,
it was
it's
trash.
A trashy one.
It wasn't. It was a sequel though. It wasn't a remake. Like, okay, here's an example, and it
All right, I
depends
gotta
on when you
Google
were born how you feel about this. But A Star Is Born is a remake of a classic. When
Like
all
the
right,
third
so the
remake.
one, yeah, the third one, right? So there's people that talk about the one with Christopherson and whoever was in that one as the best one, the original one, right? But the
I've literally
newest
never heard
one
anybody talk
was
about Star Is Born.
badass.
Psycho with they should have never remade that. They made it with
They remade
what's his-
Psycho.
Yeah, with
Oh, that's
what's
right,
his
that's
face
right,
from
that's right.
Swingers. Yeah, Vince
Vince Vaughn.
Vaughn.
Yeah, yeah, that's weird.
Did he play Norman Bates?
Yeah,
Didn't even know that.
there you go.
They redid
mean-
it, right?
Yeah,
All right, they didn't remake The Sandlot. You're right.
They
but
did
it's still
remake it.
trash.
They did remake it. And did you think the new one was better? Because I'll tell you
I
this:
won't watch it.
when I was a little kid, I remember walking into my you know how
I
you
won't do it.
your parents put you to bed, you go to sleep, and you wake up and you just wander into their room. Well, I was asleep. They're watching a movie. I wander into their bedroom, and it's one of those scenes where they're so locked in that they don't really notice that their 3-year-old son has wandered into the room. And it just so happened to be the scene that Pennywise like floats the balloon like up out of the cauldron and like gets the kid and like pulls the kid like into the sewer. And it literally scarred me from clowns for the rest of my life.
Same.
rightfully so.
You got to be careful on those. You got to
Same.
be careful on the scary movie. But
Hey,
that's
I'd
why
like to also
I didn't even watch this.
congratulate-
I didn't watch the remake because of that. But go ahead, Boyle.
I want to congratulate Joe on that. The background drop of White Man Can't Jump, the original with Rosie Perez, and just being on Jeopardy like that. That almost makes the entire movie. That subplot is White Man Can't Jump. It's actually not his weird like around the world jumper or Wesley Snipes being athletic and dunking on people. It's literally how she gets onto Jeopardy.
So
Praise be.
Love Rosie Perez.
the real plot of White Men Can't
Is
Jump
Rosie Perez, and
Perez's journey to Jeopardy.
And the hook shot from the
That's
Super Bowl.
right. And he knocked it out of the park, and he said, you can't redo Rosie Perez. And you know what? Facts.
You co-sign that. Can't redo Rosie Perez, but neither here nor there. I'll watch it. I'll give it a watch and see if it's any good.
When it comes out in 3 years because of the writer's strike, we got no advertising happening here. So there's picketers on every corner.
That's
Really?
weird. Well, at least you guys have something to do out there.
There it
This
is.
is
Are,
right.
are the cell phones on the homeless strip
Before-
still getting plugged in on time, though?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Before
Gotta
we
have dry
switch, I want to talk about some baseball betting stuff. But before we switch off the NBA, I want to ask Joe what his thoughts are on this simple stat. Doc Rivers has now lost 10 game sevens. Is Doc Rivers the problem in Philadelphia? When you look at, where they've been over the last couple of years and where other teams that he's been with have been in the postseason and where they continually stop, is Doc Rivers the problem?
I will say, I'll preface it by saying I've never liked Doc Rivers as a coach. I've always thought he complained too much when things don't go his way. I always thought he put way too much blame on players. He does some subtle jabs. He puts out a lot of comments that are often misinterpreted by players, or they're interpreted correctly by players, and they are jabs. In this instance, I don't think he is the problem, really. I think they greatly missed Matisse, Thibault or whatnot on defense. They had a 9-point lead. They blew it. They couldn't get the hustle. They've got a weird mix of players. And honestly, you get to 10 game sevens that you lose, you always get into game sevens. I mean, you're taking series deep. You're getting to a lot of playoff series. If you last long enough, you're going to lose. Brett Favre, right? Didn't he throw like the most interceptions ever? It's like sometimes you just around to accumulate a lot of stats that can look bad. And honestly, he's produced children, so we know he can finish. It's just he's got a weird track record of blowing it there at the end. And I don't know. I don't like the guy as a coach, but I don't think he's the issue in this situation, honestly.
Well played. Nailed it, Joe.
James Harden didn't have his best game either, did he, on that day? No.
Honestly, their record was
Yeah, but
better
you
when
also-
Embiid was out, which is weird.
Well, you also got Embiid that absolutely displays in a game 7 why Joker should have won the NBA MVP for the 3rd straight year, because he choked when it mattered the most. And my boy Joker just does not miss. Like, that dude is going to beat the Lakers in 5.
Lakers win game 3, statistically the game that the opposing team, if you're going to get swept, you're going to win one. If you're not going to get swept, you win one game. It's your first game at home. It is game 3 in the NHL, in the NBA. Game 3.
Yeah,
AD goes down
I
first
feel-
half. They get
That's a
swept.
fun stat.
I feel really good about my pick if Denver goes home with 2 dubs in the bag.
Well,
Denver's got a home field, right? So they would
yeah, they'll
they'll play
home
2
court
at
advantage
home,
for sure.
then they'd go to LA up 2-0. Yeah. Good work.
What is it? Is it 2? I thought it was 2-2.
1-1-1.
3-2.
Yeah.
2-3-2, isn't it?
It's 2-2-1-1-1.
I thought they
Yeah,
switched
well-
it in the later series.
That's weird.
No,
See, I
That's
used to like the
final.
Jordan era when it was like a banger. It was like 2, then you got to go try to clip 1 of 3 and then go
Yeah.
bury him at home. Like that was ridiculous. See, like those are the kinds of things, like I don't even want to bring it up because I don't think there's enough time in the world to have this debate. But then you get into the LeBron, Jordan, great people. And, Jordan never needed a game 7. He never had to go to game 7. He always ended it early. If you're that good, aka Doc Rivers, you don't need to win game 7. And it's like LeBron being in 57 finals and all 57 years that he's been in the NBA. Like, just because he got there doesn't mean he won.
right.
And there's a
Do
difference
losses-
between
do
winners
losses in the-
and getting
So-
there.
Okay, that's the question: does getting there matter at all?
Horseshoes and hand grenades kind of mentality, probably for me.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah,
Yeah, it matters.
If you
It matters.
like, if how long would it take you to remember the last 5 NBA champions? And then I want you to, before you answer that, I want you to tell me how long it would take you to answer the question of who are the last 5 NBA runner-ups.
I got it pulled up. Go ahead.
Me?
Joe? No, Joe. Joe's got his eyeballs
Oh,
raring to go.
Oh no!
He already looked
Give me the
I'm
last.
literally
Give me
trying
the
to think
last
through it.
5. Give me the last 5 NBA
Warriors
champions. off the-
versus Celtics, right? Last year, and then before that, it was the Bucks versus the. See, like I'm already lost.
The sun
Do you?
shines.
Suns lost to the Bucks. in
Oh,
the
that's
finals.
right. Devin Booker's sad face, looking and going, "Damn, that's right." Before
year
that,
before,
it would have
yeah.
been the Lakers versus the Heat, I think.
Yes,
And
sir.
Yep, that was the.
And
final.
before that
was
would
the
have
bubble.
been Warriors and Warriors the 2 years before that. Is that right?
Warriors can't play the Warriors. No.
Nah, the
No,
year before that it was
Warriors.
it was Warriors, but it was Warriors Raptors, and the Raptors won.
Yep.
Oh, and then before that, it was Warriors against Cleveland. Warriors
Twice.
against Cleveland. Yeah.
And then the year after that, it was Cleveland versus the Warriors.
Warriors.
Yeah.
And then before that, it
Cleveland.
was Cleveland or
Okay.
Warriors versus, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Let's
Cleveland-
let's
Cleveland,
be
the
let's be
last
real. Let's be
Eastern
real
Conference.
clear that you guys are elite and absolute top
yeah.
shelf talent when it comes to statistics and recalling information. So the average American sports fan is not pulling that information out of their ass like that as quickly as you guys did. Let's make sure we're clear on the elite status that StacheCast brings to the table. I don't want anybody to discount that. This was high level, highbrow analytics. Let's go. So the idea that the second place doesn't matter does it matter? I guess if you're looking at it, if you're a team that's building towards it, does reaching that accomplishment matter to
No.
you because now you've tasted it and you've seen what it's like? Kind of like the teams that make it to multiple Final Fours in college. They get an idea of what it's like to be there. They understand the expectation. Having that experience helps, or no?
Sometimes you might not make it
Sure.
better.
But yeah, it doesn't matter in today's day and age of instant gratification and everything else. You either win or you lose. Second place is the first loser. So like, way to go. You got all the way to the finals. Until you win it all, like you're still Dan Marino, right? Like Hall of Famer,
Ricky
one of the
Bobby.
greatest, Ricky Bobby, one of the greatest of all time. But like, if you
you
don't
ain't
ever
first, you're
win the
last.
big one, then it's like, are you really that
then what are we
great?
doing?
Or Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta start like thinking about. I mean, let's see. I mean, Namath obviously was a quality quarterback, but he won one championship and he basically pre-called it, and that's why his name lives in infamy. Like he won. He said, "I was going to win. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna win." I'm pretty sure it was a trash
Them
game.
coats
I'm
were
pretty
fresh.
sure they barely
though,
won.
Let's be honest.
What?
Those coats were fresh, though.
Oh,
His
they
coat
were
was fresh.
100%.
Namath owned the decade, yeah, but statistically not
I-
that great.
I mean, I hate that being runner up displaces quality talent / coaching. Like there's no reason other than Chris Paul being the biggest diva that maybe ever in the NBA that Monty Williams is not the Suns coach.
They love Monty Williams too.
Yeah.
Like
Good
I don't
point.
understand. Like, you know what? His team didn't fail. Or, I mean, I'm sorry. His team failed. Chris Paul quit on again. They paid DeAndre Ayton $1 billion, and he showed up 6 times for a double-double maybe all year. Like, I mean, it was atrocious.
Right. But if I own the Suns and I've spent the money that I've spent to have Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Kevin Durant and Chris Paul there, who do I got to point the finger at somebody? And the reality is I've got too much money invested. Whoever's got the least amount of money invested in them, that's who I got to point the finger at, right?
Yeah, and that goes back to things that we went through during childhood as sports people. I'll associate myself with Nick. I don't know about any of you other guys, but Nick and I grew up playing ball, and like I have always called it daddy ball. Your 12-year-old's best friend that can't hit the broadside of a barn, maybe playing short, can't get it to first, but he's coach's son.
Mhm.
The wrong people sometimes play, and throughout all of the levels of competition, I've been thoroughly disappointed that at high school I was like, surely it quits. No, it doesn't. Somebody's going to be running the snack bar, and this person's people are running the snack bar and taking it to the house. Then you get to college and you're like, well, this guy got a full ride. You're a walk-on, so you're going to get the shaft, even though your numbers are double. Then you go up into the pro and they're like, we gave the guy a big contract. We can't back down now. Let's double down and let's fire somebody else. It's not the problem.
Right.
Like, that's my biggest issue with the whole system, I guess, that's in place.
But it makes sense because it's factual at every level. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And especially in baseball. Now, I don't have any personal experience in the G League or any of the minor leagues and any of the other sports. But in baseball, that's definitely the way that it is. Like if you have the smallest contract and you are the least expendable, they are gonna, if they invested in somebody, regardless of their numbers, they're gonna take that person. And that was the main reason that even though I had opportunities to play after college, I was like, you know what, I'm good. I'm as good as I'm gonna get. I'm ready to move on to the next phase. I didn't want to spend the next 2 or 3 years being told that I couldn't advance because someone else was being paid more than me, even though I was doing better on the field. And that's the reality of minor league baseball sometimes.
It's brutal. It's a nasty, nasty business. I know you could pile up the stories too, but I mean, I had one buddy, I think he led AA, might have even been AAA for a 6-week period in average home runs and RBIs, and got cut the same year because the team drafted someone in the second round that was 6 years younger and could hit the ball just as far.
Yeah, could, maybe,
Could.
possibly.
He
Projectability says maybe I could.
Five
but we don't
tooling.
know.
He was 5 tooling on all of the stat sheets.
Crazy. But as hard as it was to make money as a minor league baseball player, there are some ways to make money as a major league baseball watcher. And this is where I bring Boyle and my man Scott in to remind us of the opportunities that are upon us as we move into Major League Baseball season, getting into full swing. We're over a month, almost 2 into the Major League Baseball season. Teams are starting to decide who they are. We're starting to see pitchers who are deciding how they want to throw. Hitters are starting to, we're starting to see some trends of all kinds. So my question to you is this is something that I've been promising Scott, I've been promising the people that have been listening, is that we would buckle down. We would start talking about some of our strategies when it comes to betting on baseball when it comes to this summer. So Boyle, I want you to tell me your number one.
You got to give the people what they want.
And that's what we're going to do right here, baby.
I mean,
I want you to tell them your number one strategy when it comes to betting on baseball this summer.
No doubt. I'm here live. My wife is doing laps in the kitchen because she's sweating out some SPG. What do you need?
Well, in case you guys don't realize that when I say this betting is a family sport at the Boyle house, this is what I'm talking about. His wife, Lisa, is pacing the house right now over a same game parlay that has nothing to do with anything that anybody's talking about, but she's locked in and she's ready to make that money. It's the win. It's the, I want to be right.
Yeah.
What is she having that?
I don't know how many times I've gone to bed and she's sitting there and I'm like, hey, what's going on, babe? And she's like, I just want to win. And I'm just like, all right, well, that's great. I want you to win too, because
of course.
Anyways, let's circle back.
We're circling back. We're back to tell the people your number one strategy when you're betting on baseball. Let's go.
All right, listen. So baseball is a great sport to bet on in all facets because it is only based in math. It is a statistical game of skill. And that's kind of how, a quality bettor would look at it. I don't know how Scott looks at it yet, but I'm sure he would pick up what I'm putting down on certain things. Like there are many facets of the game that you can bet on. You got people that are coming out strong with their starters and you're like, ooh, maybe I'm looking at 3 and 5 inning money lines. Maybe I'm looking at KOs. Maybe I'm looking at outs. Maybe this guy throws and he's very efficient. Maybe I'm looking at this guy is absolute trash and I flip the tab to the batter props and I start looking at this guy's going to get laced. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it, and you just gotta ride with what you feel is the best bet for what you're trying to watch. The only thing that I bet on when from a baseball perspective is something that I can watch. So I don't know if you can get picked up with an endorsement from the MLB extra innings, but mad subscriber. So with that being said, depending if I'm watching a game or I'm at work and I'm just going to be tied up in meetings all day, I structure my bets differently. So I would go with a long burn or an SPG or a multifaceted game, strikeout, hit, parlay, or something of that nature. If I was to do meetings And if I'm sitting there watching it, I may be doing at bats, and that's when the math comes right back around. And you got to realize that somebody succeeding at 30% is a Hall of Famer.
Hey,
And that means
Boyle,
you can.
hey Boyle, I gotta stop you. I asked you what your number one strategic like for betting on baseball was.
That's right.
And
Color of the hat.
and we're so far off in the fucking weeds that I don't even know which way is up. So I'm gonna try to break down what
that's
you've
fair
been
enough.
saying for a second. So what he's trying to say is that you can bet on every single aspect of a baseball game. So from the pitcher's perspective, you can talk about how many strikeouts do I think this pitcher is going to have? How many innings do I think that he's going to pitch? If I think that, as Boyle said, I think he's going to get railed and I want to switch it over to the hitter's perspective, we can decide how many hits he's going to give up, how many runs he's going to give up. We can start talking about how many bases he's going to give up. If in some forms you can break it down that far. But ultimately, you can bet on a baseball game based on the pitcher matchup, hitting matchup. You can break it down on at bat. There's every single aspect of every play that might create an out is an opportunity for a bet in baseball. But what I think is the ultimate opportunity, but I think the answer to my question is, what is the number one thing that if I'm going to go bet on a baseball game, what do I want to look at to try to win? Is it pitchers innings over under?
See, I will answer that twofold. One, I do like that strategy. I think that pitchers going for a specific outing, that is based in math. You can look historically, you can look day to day, you can look last 6 starts, you can do these things, and you kind of want to ratchet them up. The second part of that is there are usually terrible odds, which means you got to be starting to put some heavy rackage down to make money on one single pick. So that's where I will loop in my new favorite, which is a round robin. So my two favorite ways of making
which we talked about last week.
Which my two favorite ways of making money in Major League Baseball is pitcher outings individually, but sometimes loop together in round robins. So I usually will try to pick 5 to 6 and then have the DraftKings app, I guess you guys would say, sponsor me at this point.
Sponsor us, right?
And then you would let the math dictate it. And yes, you would want to put a little bit more money, maybe stagger it on the 2 picks and the 3 picks, which are more likely to happen. But when you start clipping a couple of those, again, I'll break down the math. If you have 6 picks and you hit 50% of them and you structure the money correctly, it's mathematically impossible for you to lose money. You will not make that much money, but if you hit pick number 4 and 5, you are really starting to grow the bankroll. The next, which is the sub and the long-winded answer of my 2-section answer, is I love the value of round robin home runs because the odds are so high when you start stacking plus 600, plus 650, plus 350, plus 950. You only got to hit 1 or 2 of them out of 6 to really make any money if the money is structured properly throughout the round robin. There's my answer.
Well, love it.
All 16 minutes of it.
Do you understand what he was saying, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, so explain it to me.
So basically in the round robins, it combines everything into each individual parlay. So the more bets you hit, depending on how many legs you have, the more you'll make. But at a certain point, assuming that the money is structured properly,
what do you mean by assuming the money is structured properly?
That part I don't get. How is the money structured?
Putting more money on the one that you think is going to win. So like if you have 6 you have 6 games you're choosing on, your first 3 games are like, these are my almost no doubters. And then the other ones are like, maybe these will happen. And I'm going to go with the flyer for the last one. Am I right, Boyle?
Somewhat, but I think Scott is in deep thought to tell us when I say the money is structured properly. For instance, if you have 5 games, then there is, I think it's 10 2-pick parlays that are available. Is that wrong? We may have to edit that, Nick.
5
but
games, you have
anyways,
times 2s, times 3s, and then
yeah. So at that point in time, I'm putting possibly
That's
25.
degenerate math in action, baby.
Yeah, I'm going $25 on 10 picks, basically.
Okay.
And then at 3, I may be going $12.50 on the 3 games, because if you hit 3 of the 5, then you got different ratios. And then when you go to 4, your odds are drastically decreasing as you're going on down the board. So I kind of set it up as a tiered basis. So
Do you decrease your bet as the odds go down?
That's right.
Okay. So you decrease your bet.
Sometimes I don't, but most likely I do.
As a general rule, though, if we were going to talk about as a rule of thumb to structure the money correctly, then you want to put your biggest money on the things that you think are going to happen, and then you're going to decrease the money as the odds go down.
That's right. And because you're trying to scoop the pot at the very last and be like, man, if I'm going to hit a 5-legger and I got $5 on it, $5 at,
I'll be honest,
plus 1,000.
I'll be honest. If you want to do this type of betting, you're going to have to download the DraftKings app, sponsor us, and you're going to have to do it there, because the apps that I've been on, I'm not going to mention them because obviously we want DraftKings to sponsor us. 1, 2, 3, sponsor us. And if they don't, we're still going to use DraftKings, but you cannot round robin the same way that Boyle is discussing it. You cannot tease lines the same way that Boyle discusses it unless you're using DraftKings. Now, you use a different app, right, Scott? You use FanDuel almost exclusively.
Yeah, which is why I'm not familiar with the innings.
And we are now sworn enemies.
Sponsor us.
Yeah. We can have FanDuel versus DraftKings, because you're not familiar with some of the intricacies that DraftKings provides, right?
Right, but the good thing about FanDuel is that if you tie on a same game parlay on one leg, on DraftKings you lose. On FanDuel, that leg is voided, and you still win if you hit the rest of the parlay.
Ooh, a progressive parlay.
That's an
interesting wrinkle for all of you people.
What do you got, Boyle? What do you got, man?
They have changed that. The tie does decrease the odds now in DraftKings. Yes.
Oh shit. What do you got, Scott? Your turn, man. You're up.
No, I think that was Boyle's, like, as a concession, is that yes, DraftKings has conceded that they do the same thing as FanDuel now to match that, because that's if you bet 2 out of 3 and one of them ties, you shouldn't lose the whole bet. And just as if you want to ask how I feel about it, just talking shit,
I think you should definitely lose a little bet. That's the risk you take. It's like today's participation trophy.
If one out of 3 pushes,
if you make a bet, if the rules are there, then you should play by whatever the rules are. But it sounds like they're just changing the rules for people.
No. If you have 3 bets as a parlay, one's minus 6.5, one's minus 8.5, one's minus 3, and you hit the 6.5, you hit the 8.5, and the minus 3 is a push. Should you lose the whole bet?
No.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right.
All
right. Welcome back. Take a shot. We'll holla at you. All right. So here's what we're doing. We're betting on pitchers' innings based on matchups. We're also going to round robin home runs based on the matchups value that we think that are there, plus the value. What else? What's our third? I need one more nugget. on betting on baseball, and then we're gonna bang out of here.
Let's hear it from Scott. Let's hear it from Scott.
Yeah. I think Scott's got to take it on this one because I've kind of screwed the pooch on this one, and so I think
Bo Jackson would have definitely lost his.
But the
hiccups.
pooch kind of liked it, was breathing hard when you got done. So good for you, Scott. We're switching off to you.
So bullpens scare me. So I like to bet starting pitchers that are performing really well. And I like to bet the first 5 innings or the first inning. So if you have 2 stud pitchers going head to head, chances are pretty good that you're going to have a first inning that's either scoreless or tied. On the other bets, with the first 5, it's going to depend on the team around him. You can have 2 stud pitchers going at it, and it still may end up tied. But if their team is not doing well, you can bet the run line or the money line. If you bet the money line and it ends up tied, you get your money back. If you bet the run line, say +0.5, and it ends up tied, then you win. If you're confident enough to get higher odds, you can do -0.5, but you still have to win by 1 run through the first 5 innings. And it's simpler. It completely takes away the bullpen unless that pitcher shit the bed, and then who cares anyway?
Right. I'll say this about baseball.
Anyway.
To put a little bow on baseball betting, Boyle started with the statement that the analytics and the math is
Available to all.
Proves true. It proves true in baseball. And as Alex mentioned, it's available to all. I'll give you a stat from last night's Sunday Night Baseball. Michaelis has the highest first inning batting average and has given up a run or more in more than 80% of the first innings of his starts this season. Last night, with a 1-run lead to start his first inning, he gave up 1 run and 2 hits in his first inning, and then went on to pitch 6 more innings shutout from there on, which is what they had said, that his first inning versus next 5 ERA was like night and day. And it happened again, and the Cardinals won last night against the Red Sox, and Michaelis's stat line was exactly as it was expected. So what I'll say is that do a little bit of research, look at what's going on with the pitchers, the matchups, the players, who's healthy, who's taking a day off, who's not, who's playing DH, whether it's interleague matchups, because this year everybody's playing everybody. Look at all these things, do a little bit more research on the statistics and the numbers and the analytics, and let that be your kind of roadmap to what you should bet on a particular game, because ultimately I feel like this season it's ring true. Would you agree, Boyle?
I would, and the only counterpoint to that is I believe firmly, I bet the professor will emphatically back me up here. There is what gamblers like to talk about, which is analysis to paralysis, where you've done so much research that you can't get out of your own freaking way, and you just got to sit there and you got to rip it. It's kind of like playing golf. You got a 2-beer buzz, you're going to stripe it real clean. You got 3-beer buzz, you're going to stripe it real clean. You get to beer 4, 5, and 6, you may be leaking it left and right.
Right.
It's same thing with betting. You know, you need 1 or 2 beer buzz to make the appropriate call, because beer 6, bad call. Beer 1, just as bad though.
Don't bet on your own team because you're biased.
Yeah, keep your heart
That's
out
my
of it.
number. Keep your heart out of it and don't overthink it. Trust your gut more so. But yes, play that
The
data
professor
game.
with the wisdom. The professor. I love it. Scott, final thoughts on betting on baseball, the hiccups, whatever you got. Final thoughts from you, my man.
I just appreciate learning from the best over there. You
Well,
and
Mr.
you and old Kevin.
Same, Boyle.
Mr.
Same.
Pinky out with his wine glass. Baby.
Yeah, no,
He's bougie. He's B12.
It has nothing to do with that,
B12.
Scott. it's a gambler's mentality. It's that I will always win it back. And that is basically a cardinal sin for everybody else.
Right.
But it has always worked out for me. So, scared money don't make money. And that's how I live my life.
True words have never been spoken. Scared money don't make money.
Logo it.
Joe, you got your Sean Taylor jersey on. You're representing the Commanders. You got to be stoked that Snyder's selling. Let's hear something from you. I want to hear a little bit of excitement about the new era that could be the Washington Commanders, and then we'll bang out of here, and everybody can tune in next time.
Tell us about how you felt when you first heard. Like, was it the text that I sent you? Did you already have it? Like, what was?
I had it. Yeah, I already had
did.
it. I have probably received like 20 messages from different mediums. People know how I felt, but like saw it coming for a long time. So it was almost like finding out was like, all right, I already know it's coming. You know what I mean? So it wasn't quite as exciting. But man, fuck Dan Snyder. And I'll say that till I die. Literally first time, as soon as I get to heaven, I'm gonna be like, Dan's not here, is he? He'd be like, fuck that. Absolutely not, dude. That was a mistake. But no, I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about like where we go. I will say that I was looking at the schedule and I'm annoyed that the New York Giants have a primetime game in 4 of the first 6 weeks of the season. That to me is asinine. The Commanders, I'm hoping.
Does it have anything to do with who they're playing?
I didn't see great matchups.
Yes.
Like they got the 49ers on Monday Night Football. They got somebody on Thursday Night Football. I don't even remember who they're playing. I just know I saw their name popping up way too fucking much. We'll be there in the next couple of years. I'm excited. I will say, as far as baseball betting goes, there's literally nothing on this planet that could make me have to spend my time researching a pitcher I've never heard of to go put my money on. I will literally just give it to my wife and say, go fucking go take it.
I would say I stick with the horses. I stick with
Scherzer.
I stick with Garrett Cole. I stick with the ponies that always run.
This week,
Shane
I'll
Bieber.
allot $50.
This show happens to be a big Shane Bieber fan, so right on those right
$50
that
this
show
week,
pony.
dude. I want to text them some tips on baseball betting, and I will put some of those in play, and I'll just see how fun it is. I'll see if I enjoy it. I'll see if I enjoy following it because I'm bashing it.
That's what everybody should do. Take some of these tips, put them into play, see if they work.
I'll give it a whirl. All
right, we'll put it on the StacheCast feed, and we'll just try to go 3 for 5. That would be my goal. I'm a 60% guy.
I like it.
60%. 60% of the time, it works every time. Hey, StacheCast
Panther of
works way better than Sex Panther. There's no doubt about it. Dude, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being on tonight. I hope you guys learned something about baseball betting. I know I did, but
hiccups.
We got and hiccups. We got as usual, Nashville's most ridiculous sports show goes off the rails, but we can't wait till see you next time. Till then, StacheCast, we out.
Come on, take me on your UFO. Yeah, on your UFO. I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to beam myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn like we rule our own government.